Hi, this is Mike, and we're looking at the XRP chart again. As I mentioned in my previous video for XLM, this view came about during the making of that video. Um, Things sort of just started to make a bit of sense when I was observing the chart and this. Sorry, whilst I was observing myself, rewatching the videos, had to do them 3 times. So recorded a lengthy video, watched it, recorded, watched it, recorded, and watched it again. And during that process, the view changed to basically what is a 1-2-1-2 pattern. But that doesn't include the 1-2 subdivisions that we probably saw at the lows, and that the complete pattern isn't really there. That would have been the first one. I think wave 3 started in 2017. And ever since then, we've just been correcting in 1-2-1-2. So third of a third wave, obviously, is what I'm saying is coming incoming here. That's why I've labeled it 1-2-1. Well, this wave 2 still unfolding. Now, I think this gives us a bit more of a clue as to a little bit of timing clue, in my opinion. And the reason for that is because this can now only be viewed as a wave A down, right? And whatever's coming incoming is a wave B, right? And I think that what's going on at the lows here, right? I don't explaining this first move actually first before we go to the small degree. I think what we have here is this moving up in threes, right? We have wave 1, 2, 3, sharp, sort of like 4, and then 5. Okay, no rules broken there really, because I mean wave 1 was small in this case, and that's the only other way that I can see this. Now I think that was the same anyway. No, it wasn't. I lie. Sorry. If that was complete D, yeah, no, that's a bit of a difference there. So it would have been 1A, B, C. Yeah, it's definitely makes more sense this way. So going to the smaller degree where we have the B wave unfolding, because obviously I was looking for a 3-wave move up. So there's only 2 waves that move up in zigzags in a bull market, and that's wave B and D. Or in a bear market, the only wave that comes back is an A. So now that we're looking at this as part of a corrective process for a bull correction, then the bounce up will be B. Okay, so either way, we still need to see B, C, D, E. So this is why I said before that we probably have a bit more of a clue now in terms of timing. Now that means that obviously this low here is not critical support, right? So the low for this would be um, the 2020 low. I believe this is going to be significant for a variety of coins. But yeah, the 2020 low is the ultimate low, and everything since then has been the 1-2 and the corrective process. And look, it's interesting also that it's confirmed the move back above the start of wave E and then came back down again. And I believe that sort of behavior is consistent with the whole idea that yeah, it is confirmed and we are going higher, and it's basically this area is a buy zone. Anything in between anything within the wave E price territory basically is a buy zone. Now, in terms of where it's going to bounce to and where it's going to come back, well, obviously, if support is 2020 lows, then basically most likely what we're going to see is a eventual bounce to retest that area of the start of wave E, right? And then we'll most likely come back down and range out a little bit. So in C, D, and E, right? Whatever that may be. And the interesting thing about this B wave pattern, though, that's kind of a little bit is that it could be the low event. Like ultimately, it could be the low, right? And then what could happen then? The D wave might break above this area, right? This resistance, I suppose you can call it, once the B wave goes back up there. And then we could see the D wave break out of this area and form the cup and handle pattern, right? Now, to be honest with you, I don't know about the timing, but it does mean that it's probably going to be beyond April, because you still would have CDE to unfold. So when it comes to XLM, I suppose that starts to make me think that the D wave of XLM might be either very volatile, expanded, or um, at least the B wave might be prolonged, which might prolong the whole thing a little, right? But when you've got this type of price action at the lows there, it can still form a support level, right? Like the wave C may not go that low, right? And the D wave might just sort of start to make this thing go a bit higher, right? And form that cup and handle type pattern once we hit those highs and then come back down, right? Now, this is also during a time where the euro is correcting in its wave two as well. Okay, now I don't expect, well, typically it can be a sharp correction, right? There's nothing to say it can't be. In terms of length of the move, though, let's take an example of this move up for wave, one here on this chart, right? So if you think about how long it took to complete the first move up, right? You had like a year, almost a year, right? Which is not a long time. And then the correction took about, right? It's like two and a bit years, right? So double roughly. Okay. Now, in terms of looking at the euro for a moment here, just for an example purpose, I know I've got a whole bunch of stuff here which I'll clear just for the moment. Now, I do believe we have topped in the euro, possibly for wave one. I'm going to get to that a little bit later. My focus right here is mainly to explain the length of time of the first move versus a corrective pattern, and how long has this move taken up until this point, right? So if this bottomed out in September 2022 and it's topping out now or whatever, then we're looking at least, just give it double, right? Double that time, right? So 127, right? Let's look at, 240, or, 260 or something, right? So if we go from that point to 60 days, right? 260 days roughly is going to take us to October, right? That's an interesting month for markets. Absolutely, it is. Now, because it's not a weak five wave move, this might have some merit, right? It might be accurate. It might not be. This might have only been the top of wave three, right? Rather than the top of the actual whole move, right? If you look at it from this perspective here, it looks like there's a potential for that. I agree. I think that we do need to make a wave four pullback, and we haven't seen that yet. So technically, that takes this out even further, okay, which is absolutely fine by me. I don't mind if this takes longer to correct, because what we're expecting here is astronomical, okay, in terms of um, the whole XRP structure, right? What we're expecting, and what we're looking at, and the things that we anticipate, right? So given that wave A was fairly sort of lengthy, right? Wave B still unfolding, right? I don't think there's anything in between that says that this is something different, right? I don't think that this is like, because this would be insanely silly to think this. I think, in my opinion, right? Be like A, B, C, D, E. Problem is, we broke that low. Can't be possible, right? Um, so yeah, not possible there. Um, what I think it is that this correction isn't quite done yet. It's not quite there. Now, when did this top out? It was also April 2021, April, May, roughly, right? So it's still in line with XLM type of thing, but it's also giving us some kind of clue as to what's the timing that's still required to complete this. There's still a bit of time left to complete these corrections, right? They're not just going to complete in 5 minutes, right? Compared to just because the wave A was the largest, right? We got to just remember that like if you go back to 2017 to the low there, it was 800 days or whatever. Okay, and you go to the end of first wave, and it's been only what it's been only 651 days, right? Now, I'm not saying that it has to be a certain length of time, but you can see that by the waves, all that we're seeing here is the length of wave A it took longer compared to the first move where it took this long. And then wave B was short and sharp. So wave B here might be, a bit bigger or whatever, right? And then you've got, the D, which was short and sharp as well. Yeah, we still have to see those moves, and then you've got a really drawn out wave E. Maybe wave E on this one will be really sharp and crazy, right? It's stuff like that. It's almost like it's alternation between corrective patterns, right? It's something that doesn't really exist out there in terms of the detail of analysis, the type of wave analysis that's done on these moves, right? Because you look at Elliott wave, for example, they barely can figure out what a correction is, let alone does the corrective patterns alternate within themselves, like from one wave to another, right? And I mean, it makes total sense, doesn't it, though? Because you got to think about alternation in general. That that's interesting in itself, but it's a very high level view of what the corrections are doing. But when you think about them from a more closer perspective, right, you can quite clearly see that there's a reason for it, and it's alternation between the waves. So you need to bear that in mind as well, that that's possible and that could be happening to what we're looking at now, and that could explain why it's expanding in time and also going to potentially make people give up or you know fold much sooner because the way the markets are definitely there to psych you out into thinking that you know it's never going to end, or you know why is this happening, and the greed and the fear type alternating uh, sentiment between people who are actively participating in this market. So it's all that sort of thing rolled into everyday thinking that I have here when I'm trying to figure these things out. So absolutely no hurry at all, but definitely we're in that time where you should be considering going long in terms of holding. In terms of trading, well, you'd want to wait for that wave E to happen, right? Because that's the one that could be the flash crash, that could be that big move that psychs people out and creates an inverted head and shoulders pattern potentially. We don't really know. So yeah. Anyway, I think that's enough for now, and I'll catch you in the next one.